Hi, I'm Ivonne,
And I'm Carlos.
and this is Ivonneplusone. Today we're gonna go all the way to Arkansas. Did you know that Arkansas has the first Walmart?
No, I did not.
No? Anyhow, I
Is
don't
that
know.
where the company's based?
That was the first one, and from there on, it just went all over.
I know it's a family, but
It was
maybe
a
they're based.
guy that Sam Walton,
Yeah, it's
and
the
it was
Walton.
founded in 1962.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Anyhow, today we have a lot of cool legends, urban legends from Arkansas. We have spooky lights and spooky roads, and we have mysterious ghosts, and of course, creature that we will talk about. Now, I wanted to let you know about Old Mike.
Old Mike?
Old Mike. You know how every state or every place that you go, it might be known for something like, okay, if you go to Florida, you have the beaches, or you have to go to Orlando, you go to the parks, whatever. Well, if you go to Prescott in Arkansas, you will know about Old Mike.
Okay.
So Old Mike was a traveling paper and pen salesman who died in 1911 in Prescott. Nobody knew who he was. The only thing that they knew was his name was Mike. So what they did was they took him to the funeral home and have him embalmed, and they put him in this place, like hoping that somebody will come and say, "Hey, this is so and so," and I identify him and bury him. But nobody came forward. So he was in this place for the longest time, and now he became like an attraction. People just came to see him. He was displayed over 60 years, okay? It was in a wooden box. They said his eyes were open. They had him dressed up very nicely. He was holding pens on his hand because he used to sell pens. And he had like a little string with a light that you can turn on and off and see him. Eventually, people will say like kids will come and dare each other to come and see him and freak out and all that. And thankfully, eventually he was buried in 1975. So he died in 1911 and he was buried in 1975. But everybody knew about Old Mike.
Wow.
That's something that you want your little town to be known for, huh?
It's very creepy.
That is very creepy. If
Nobody claimed him.
Nobody. Well, there's some theories that people say that he might be someone, but nobody actually know who he was.
Because he didn't have a license?
No, well, it was 1911.
License. Yeah, he went to the DMV and got his license, but he lost it.
No, they only know that his name was Mike.
Wow.
And they knew he would take a train once a week to go to Prescott to sell the pen. He didn't live there. So they didn't know where exactly he was from.
Insane.
Anyhow, let's actually go to urban legends. And the first one is about some spooky lights called the Gurdon lights. They also are known as the Gurdon ghost lights or the spooky lights. Okay, it's a very mysterious light. They appear during the day or at night, but of course you can see them better at night. And they appear near the railroad track within the woods of southern Arkansas, right off Interstate 30 in Gurdon. Okay, there's no doubt that the lights exist. Thousands of people have seen it. Nobody can explain them.
I mean, where do they come out of?
That's what they don't know.
It's just behind a mountain or what?
It's in the railroad tracks, like in the woods. There were some railroad tracks, and you can see them in there. They come on. I mean, they are
like
not there all the
orbs?
time. It's a little orb. Let me tell you right now
sorry.
how they look like. The light, it's like a little orb, and you can change in colors, anything from white, blue, green, orange, yellow, and it hovers around the track between 1 to 3 feet above them. Some people say that they change colors so they can blink on and off. And if you walk towards them, the light will move away or disappear. Sometimes it will appear behind you. They only last for a couple seconds. Some locals claim that if you ask a question, the light might change colors. They have been seen since the 1930s. So it's been quite a while, and you can still see them, which is crazy. It's like a town thing to do. Like, it's so known that people in the town, they say, oh, let's go see the Gurdon lights. Now, to get there, you have to hike like 2.5 miles, following the track of the train tracks in the middle of the woods. There's no lights or anything. You're like walking in the woods towards the spot that they say that you can find them. So imagine you're walking in the middle of the night, hearing all the little crickets or who knows what else in there to try to reach this, and then get spooked out because you see all of a sudden a light coming from nowhere.
Are you sure they're not just fireflies?
People have studied them. A lot of people have come and see to try to figure out what they are, and
No bugs found.
no, not that I know of. Now, there's a lot of theories of what this light might be. One theory is because underneath the ground there's a lot of crystals, like quartz crystal, they are under a lot of pressure, and electricity will create and it will spark, right? This is called piezoelectricity.
Piezo.
There you go. Piezo. Not pio.
Piezo.
Piezo. Electricity. However, they cannot explain how it's always round, how it moves, and it can be sometimes in front of you or behind you. So that they're like, maybe it's not. But definitely there's a lot of force in there that can create that kind of electricity. They also say that there's swamp gas that might ignite, but they have disproven that theory too.
So there's no active theory of what it could be?
Logical theory.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. However,
So what is the woo-woo theory?
the woo-woo theory is, there are two of them. The first one is that a long, long time ago, there was a railroad worker who had an accident and he fell and he was decapitated.
Okay.
And now he holds a lantern looking for his head all over the place. That's one of the stories. The other one is based on a true event, okay? They think that the lantern belonged to a man named William McLean. Now, he was brutally killed in December of 1931 near the railroad by a person named Louis McBride. Shortly after this happened, the lights started showing up. There are two theories about why McBride killed McLean. The first one is that they were fighting because there was a trail derailment a couple days before, and McLean was blaming McBride about causing that derailment. The other one is that he was asking to work more hours because it was like during the Depression time, and he said no. So McBride got mad. He picked up, what's the name of the thing?
Crowbar?
No. It wasn't a car.
Hook?
It was
Sledgehammer?
a railroad spike. I don't
just
know why
kidding.
it came out of my... A railroad spike mold, you know, that little things that they used to...
Mallet?
Yeah.
So a hammer.
Basically, but the one that is like a little pointy at the thing. And he just beat the hell out of him and killed him. Now, the story goes that when they found McLean, he was still holding the lantern. And now it's said that he just hunts the track with the very same lantern that he was found. Those are the spooky theories.
I've heard of orbs before. I've seen a couple of videos on the orbs situation, and they always say there's certain parts, now that I think about it, in some of those stories, it's like repetitive. The orbs. It's like orbs in the tree, and then everybody goes there and they can see the orbs in the tree and then just keep seeing them over and over.
Yeah.
And people thought that those were dimensional beings for some reason. Like that was the theory on the videos that I saw. But it's like they always said that inside of those little orbs, there's actually beings. Like that's their spacecraft. They're like interdimensional though. So you're not seeing their full body, you're just seeing kind of like their spirit or something.
I never heard of that,
They can visit.
and it definitely didn't come across when I was researching here.
We should look up orbs in one of our videos because that's an interesting, just all the orbs theories. Yeah, there's a bunch all over the world for sure.
Huh, that sounds very interesting. But anyhow, this spot is very known and very popular during Halloween. And I was reading some comments of people say, oh, yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, we will go there in Halloween and people will hide because you had to pass like little bridges where the tracks were. You know how and say some people will hide underneath and then try to grab your ankles and like, oh, my God, that would be so crazy and spooky. But I'm assuming during Halloween, there's a lot of people going that way.
Even though they have to walk 2 miles.
Yeah, well, it's a small town, so I don't know
guess
how
2 miles,
much.
it sounds like a lot, but
Yeah, and if you're with friends, it must
I
be
like
fun.
15, 20 minutes, something like that.
It must be fun.
Not 15, but
Yeah.
a few minutes. Let's just say it's not going to take a whole hour to get there.
I thought it was like 20 minutes or so.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Anyhow, this is so known that Unsolved Mysteries covered these mysterious lies, and they kind of recreated the assassination of McLean and then gave the theories of
That's a show, right?
yeah, Unsolved Mysteries. But anyhow, if you want to visit this area, it's said to just go like to a gas station or ask any locals, and they will tell you exactly how to go to the spot.
Unless they're sending you to another place to your imminent death.
Exactly. So be careful. But it will be fascinating. I mean, like people say, oh, I'm going there expecting to see the lights, but as soon as I see them, it kind of freaks me out. Like I read that comment a lot, like, and I can see that because it's booking on its own to be in the middle of the woods. I mean, you have the tracks. It's like the tracks right here, and then you have a bunch of trees in this side and a bunch of trees in the other side. And it's pitch black except whatever you're holding as a light source. And then all of a sudden it just comes. Like, that must be very, very eerie and spooky to me.
Definitely.
Will you take your kids to do that? Because apparently that's what people do over there.
They really love destroying their kids' like mental states.
I don't know. Will you? I don't know if they do it now, but they used to a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that to my kids. Thanks. But I would try, I guess, personally. I mean, I guess when they're teenagers, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Not at, 7 or 6 or whatever, or below.
Now, do you know how we last episode were talking about the Bigfoot and how every state has one? Well, Arkansas has one, and he's very famous. He's called the Boggy Creek Monster, or the Fouke Monster, or the Swamp Stalker, or the Southern Sasquatch.
Okay, basically.
A lot of things.
Everybody named it. Everybody that saw it.
Now, this creature is ape-like and it stands around 7 to 8 feet tall on 2 feet. Its footprints are huge, about 17 inches long by 17 inches wide. And what makes it unique is he only has 3 toes. So the footprints that they have found, there's only 3 toes.
Okay.
Which some people question that because, like, being so big, how do you balance,
You're Bigfoot. You don't
Exactly.
You don't need special toes.
They also said that his chest is about 3 feet wide.
3 feet?
Mm-hmm. And that he weighs 300 pounds. Now, I ask myself, how do they know?
I guess if they measured supposedly you can measure how heavy things are. Actually, I don't know.
I don't know.
Depending on the mud,
Yeah,
like
the prints.
step,
Yeah. Okay, he's covered in thin, long hair on his chest, legs, and arms. The color varies anything from black, brown, or reddish. He says to smell like a mix of skunk and wet dog. And his eyes are big and red, like the size of a silver dollar, which is 1.5 inches.
Can we get into the skunk or wet dog?
Sure.
What's the difference between a skunk and a wet dog? I forgot what a wet dog smells like, but
I don't know what a
How do you go in
skunk smell
between
like.
those two smell?
I know what a wet dog smell like. I don't know. I have never smelled a skunk
I guess
in my
the skunk
life.
just smells terrible. Basically, it smells terrible.
Bad. Well, you know, like when the dogs are wet, it's like all sweat, ruggy, smell like musty kind of thing,
I don't mess with dogs so much, but skunks, that's hilarious.
Okay. So he said he walks like with a shuffle, and when he runs, he like hunch over and run with both legs and arms like a prime. I like the
like
monkeys and all that.
an ape or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorilla.
Now, the first sighting recorder was in 1908 when a 10-year-old girl claimed to have seen a strange creature in the backwoods. However, he became famous in the 1970s when Bobby and Elizabeth Ford claimed that the Boggy Creek monster attacked their home. They say that the creature reached through a screen window, but he was chased away. Later, the monster came back and attacked Bobby. Bobby was treated in the hospital for large gashes across his back. No blood was found in the house, but a 3-toe footprint were found nearby. There were also scratches on the porch and damage on the siding and windows. The sad part is that this family was only living there for about a week, and then they just moved after the incident.
They had just gotten there.
Yeah. They were brand new to the area.
What year?
This was in the 1970s.
Okay.
So this was reported all over the radio and the newspapers, and the story went wild. Okay, there was even a radio station called KAAY who posted a bounty for more than $1,000, and everybody was looking for it, including Hunter. And it was so crazy that the police, the sheriffs, had to put a temporary no gun to kind of to keep people safe because people were going crazy trying to find it.
A temporary what?
No gun policy.
Oh, everybody had a gun.
Yeah, well, because they were hunters too. And it was the 1970s. Now, the story of the attack of the forest inspired a movie in 1972. The movie was made by Charlie B. Pierce, and it was called The Legend of Boggy Creek. It was a first-person account, kind of like the Blair Witch Project. Like they were holding.
Those small.
And in actuality, I mean, he didn't have money, so he just bought a camera and he headed to the woods and tried to make the film. And they say that the Blair Witch Project was based on his movie.
Mm. Everybody thought that was the original.
Well, I didn't know there was another one, but apparently it was based on that movie. Now, nobody wanted to show his movie, so he rented his own theater. I cannot say that word. And he showed the movie, and people loved it. They would make lines about 5 blocks to go see it. Hollywood noticed that, and they pitched in and they started showing the movies all around. And they ended up making $25 million in that movie.
The guy, the creator.
Well, I don't know if the creator or just all of them together. Of course, after seeing the movie, more people were telling, "Oh, I saw the creature," and claiming that they found him.
It gets into the imagination of of everybody, and then just a little shadow of something is
the monster. Now, the most recent sighting that I came across was in 2021, because there's a website where you can actually they have the entries of all the sighting in this area of supposedly this creature, this monster. But someone claimed to have seen a creature that they described as a hairy ape-like creature that ran across the road during the daytime. Today, there's a convenience store dedicated to keep alive the story of the folk monster. It is called the Monster Mart. Besides food, you can find memorabilia such as the poster from the movies, vintage newspaper articles, photo props, murals, and souvenirs. There's also a festival that is held yearly that started in 2013 where people get together to talk about the folk monster and other monsters like Bigfoot and all that. And all the money that they make, they use it for a scholarship. And that's the story of the folk monster or the boogie monster from Arkansas.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's the most famous one that I have found so far. Well known. From there, we're going to go to some spooky roads.
Roads?
Roads, or a specific one, Highway 365.
Okay.
It's a story about the Vanishing Hitchhiker. And apparently it happened in a lot of places, not only in here. Mm. But as the story tells, if you drive on a dark, rainy night on the road of Highway 365 near Woodson, you might find a young girl walking along the road. She's wearing an old, torn white dress, and she seems lost and cold. She is near a bridge waiting for someone to give her a ride home. If you're brave enough to stop and help her, she will tell you where she lives. But when you get there, she suddenly disappears. People have said that they knock on the door of the address she gave them, only to be told that the girl was their daughter who passed away in a car accident years ago. They claim the girl was trying to come back home. There's a version of the story where a man stopped to give the girl a ride. He lent her his coat and to keep her warm. When they reached the place, she said, it was her home. She vanished. He knocked on the door, and the person who answered said that the girl had died a while back. The man had a hard time believing it, so he went to the cemetery to see for himself. His coat was draped over her gravestone. Others have said that when they looked in the car after the girl disappeared, they found wet spots on the seat where she was sitting.
It's always when it's raining?
It's apparently when it's raining. And that is the Vanishing Hitchhiker of Road Highway 365.
Creepy.
I would say, I know a long time ago people will hitchhike and you will give them a ride, but I don't know if I would stop. Nowadays, I feel like I will call the police and say, hey, there's somebody that might need help with
Trying to get them out, but not help yourself directly.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah, I thought there was a story where these people were very nice and helpful with somebody and then they got killed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance the
and nowadays
positive idea of humanity versus the negative.
And nowadays there's so much stories about people that are in the middle of the highway, they look like they need help, and then you get down and they just take your car. There's more people hiding to try to rob you or to worse stuff.
I'm sure it's mostly good people, but you don't want to be that one statistic of the bad.
Exactly. Nowadays you don't know. So I wouldn't stop. I just call the police.
Try to help them,
Yeah.
Some other way. Somebody with a weapon.
Exactly.
Just in case.
Yeah. Well, but it will be spooky on their own. You just imagine you're there and all of a sudden you think you saw something, it's not there anymore.
I got the chills when you told the story. It was kind of annoying. Not annoying, but it was...
Spooky.
It was spooky.
I love this word spooky. Sorry if I say it too much. But we have more spooky stories right now. And we're heading all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas. And here you can find Mount Holy... Yeah. You can find Mount Holy Cemetery. It's situated on a 4-block area, and it was made back in 1843. And now, and this place is well known because they have a lot of all-important history, but it also haunted. When the cemetery was created, a lot of bodies from other cemeteries around were excavated and exhumed and bring back to this to be reburied. Some people say that's a big no-no because you kind of disturb the peace of the people who were buried. Well, a lot of important people from the state history are buried here, such as governors, senators, yes, military leaders, Confederate soldiers, Native Americans, artists, and more. The cemetery is actually quite beautiful. It has a lot of mature trees, flower beds, and a bunch of statues, including 2 little statues of kids. There were 2 little girls that they died 1 year apart. They were 5 and 6. They died in 1886 and 87. They were around 5 and 6 years old. So there's the 2 statues of them, which I found it creepy. But at the same time, it's kind of pretty. Why did they get statues? Well, and the dad and the mom kind of wanted to represent it, and they tried to...
sisters.
They were sisters. And they tried to replicate how the kids look like. I don't know if they look like that for real, but that's what they were trying to do. Yeah. Okay, but there are stories about ghosts too. People say they've seen figures that look like they were from the past, like Confederate soldiers or even Native American. Some folks say they heard the sound of a flute playing, especially in the morning. They also claim to have seen mist or darkness overtaking them, unexplained black shadows. There are even stories about statues and graves moving around. But the creepy story of all is people who live nearby have found pieces of like statues and grave in their yard. Like they wake up in the morning and they're starting there's something. So if is it vandalism? I don't know. Is it a ghost that's moving the pieces of grave? I don't know either. People claim they had actually seen pieces of the statues like raise up and move. Now, some people claim that when they take pictures, they see shadows or people wearing like old-fashioned clothes from like the 1800s or orbs. Now, in October, there's a cool event that they held called Tales of the Crypt, where a drama student from a high school, a Magnus High School, dress up in like period clothes, and they assign a people from the cemetery that die, because there's so many historian people in there, and they had to do like a monologue or anything like that. So at that time of the year, you can go and see a lot of people dress up in that kind of clothing, which I think is kind of cool. And some of them supposedly be holding like a candle. The videos that I saw, I didn't see anybody holding a candles, but there's some people say that they do. So Mount Holly was listed at National Register of Historic Places in the 1970s. And that's it about this cemetery. You can take tours, you can hear his history, but you can also see some ghosties, apparently.
That would be a good place to do a little camping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, I was reading when I was looking at these cemetery stories that a long time ago, they were in parks like they are today. So you know how they're like designated kid areas to play? So people will go at the cemetery to play. I mean, that's not today's standard, but...
That was a park.
Yeah, it was like the park.
This is green.
It's green, it has a lot of trees, and it looks beautiful. And that went away once they start creating like neighborhood parks.
Interesting.
But a lot of people, like I was listening to a podcast where they were talking to a lady who take people in the tours, and she said that there's a lot of spooky stuff that happen. And the tours happen at night.
In that place?
Yeah, in the cemetery. And it happens at night, and at that time they cannot go inside the cemetery because it's closed. They just kind of walk around there, but you know, it's just gates so they can see inside. And then they say like sometimes darkness come and feel like you're like overtaken by some like dark powers or see shadows and stuff like that. Would you take a tour like that?
No, thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes I will say like maybe, but I don't know at the same time.
I'm not that big fan of getting scared like I mentioned before. It's not my thing. I know people who do like it that much. Especially jump scares. Those are annoying.
Yeah. I don't know if this will be considered a jump scare,
well,
but
I mean,
still a scare.
It could be. You could be the first one, so I don't want to do that.
You don't want something to all of a sudden grab you. Now, I love reading stories from the web of people, what happened to people. So here are a couple of them. This one is by an unknown person. They didn't identify themselves. It says, I live in a haunted apartment for a year. The apartment was 12 feet by 8 feet. I started having these occurring dreams of a young woman asking me to follow her, and thought nothing of it, but never follow her in my dreams. One night, I followed her in the dream, and she came across a stream, and I stopped. Nothing weird about that, except for the guy across the stream loading a clip into his gun, cocking the gun, then discharging the clip over and over. I woke up from my dream to see a shadow figure dripping wet in the doorway to my bathroom. Freak out and look away to see the same man at the foot of my bed with the gun. I throw the sheets off me and look back to the bathroom. She's gone. Look back to the foot of my bed, and he's gone. Time goes on, and the dreams are now every time I go to sleep, but only at my apartment. One night, I wake up to my TV turning on and flashing through the channels, with the volume continuously getting louder. I tried my remote. Doesn't work. I tried the button on the TV. Nothing. So I unplug the TV and go to bed. I wake up in the morning, plug in my TV, and sure enough, it is in the 200s, somewhere with a volume cranked up. Weird thing is, the TV shouldn't reach those numbers, and when I changed channels to get the TV back, I couldn't get back to those channels. As time goes on, I started having lights going on and off. My radio will turn on, change channels, bulbs in the apartment will explode or turn on their own at night. And toward the end, it was day and night. Even started to see the dripping girl on a weekly basis around the apartment. The biggest event came from when I finally followed the girl through the whole dream. I woke up because of light flickering around in my apartment to see a hooded man on the foot of my bed. Thinking someone had broken into my apartment, I lunged at them from my bed, and we started exchanging blows, trashing my apartment. We squared off, and he managed to reach out his hand and just touch me in the chest with 2 fingers. My whole body shut down, and I fell on my back. He then proceeds to crawl up on my body and stand on my chest. I asked, "What the F do you want? Leave me alone." Figure disappears, and I lay on the floor till morning and headed to class. Now, would you do that? Like, oh, this all just happened to me. I need to go to class. Bye.
I mean, if I think it was a dream.
I don't know. I come home and my place is trash. I know that you are all thinking, and no, I don't do drugs and wasn't taking drugs when it is happened. Other people have experienced the lights, but only me have seen that girl. Would you stay in that apartment?
Probably not.
No?
I mean, after that experience,
I
would assume that it would have been a repetitive thing.
Yeah, well, he was seeing her weekly and having all these things happening.
Continue,
yeah. I will be, you need to change apartments.
Definitely.
But what he said, which is curious, if he will go to sleep somewhere else, it wouldn't happen. It only happened in the apartment. So it's not like a person thing, it's a location thing.
Which is usually the case.
Yeah.
I feel like. From what I read.
Interesting. Now, another one is by KJILFP. That's the name that they give themselves. When I first moved out of my parents' house, I lived in an old but recently renovated annex building on a farm. I was the first person to live in this building. It was really old and looked like it could have been an old pig shed. The farm was also really old, and there were remnants of an old prior about 50 million. The farm was also really old, and there were remnants of an old priority about 50 meters from the farmhouse and annex, which also had an old excavated graveyard. One of the skeletons is in our local town museum, as is the tallest man to ever live in my local area. Weird stuff happened pretty much from the day I moved. Orbs in photos, unexplained thumbs and bangs, all the usual ghost stuff. The annex was really small. Tiny shower room, toilet, then a tiny kitchen, then a living room, and then a bedroom. Each room has its own door. One day, I was in the shower, and when I got out and went through to the kitchen, all the cupboards were open. What does it make you remember of? The movie?
I don't remember.
The Seventh Sense. It was the Seventh
Sense? The
Sixth Sense. Well, I added one more. Twice, I had opened a kitchen cupboard and had a glass and a mug fly out, as in literally fly out and hit the wall behind me. If I ever fell asleep on the sofa in the living room, I would be woken up by a man's voice angrily shouting, "Hello?" at me. My TV will turn on in the night. My phone will randomly start playing music for no reason. I had my best friend stay over one day after we had been out drinking. We were both hungover and she went to my bed in my bedroom while I was sunk out in the sofa. She shouted at me to stop walking around. "Why can't you sit down?" And I was sitting down. I couldn't hear the footstep, but she definitely could. I will also lose things in my bedroom all the time. Jewelry, makeup. A new lady started at my workplace little did I know she was a bit psychic. I had never spoken to her about where I live or the weird stuff happening in my house all the time. One day, totally out of the blue, she told me there's a woman who likes to come to my house and play, and she really likes the teddy on my bedside table. Honest to God, there is no way she could have known this. She went on to say the woman is from a long time ago and has learning difficulties, and the monks used to look after her. At this point, my mind was totally and utterly blown. She told me to buy her a teddy and put it next to the one on the bedside table. I was skeptical, but willing to give anything a go, because I hated living there so much. I was so scared and freaked out so often, so I did. Then everything stopped. Isn't that crazy? Like all of a sudden, psychic comes to say, "Yeah, you've been following somebody around your house or where you are," like out of the blue.
What was the point of the teddy, though?
Well, it's supposed to be that she had learning disability, so I'm assuming that she was a woman, but she probably her mind was more like of a child. So if you gave her the teddy, she just go up away with the teddy. That's my thinking.
But there was a teddy there, right?
I know, but it didn't belong to her. Now this
So it was
one
a
is
gift?
like a gift to the ghost.
It's like, give me my teddy.
Sacrifice of the teddy.
You sacrificed the teddy for the... Okay.
For the peace and quiet. I don't know. I'm so grateful that thankfully we live in a peaceful home.
In some ways.
Yeah, well, in the ghost way, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, this story is by somebody who is called Puff No. When I was in college, I worked part-time in a Jewish cemetery in reception office management. The cemetery was closed from Friday afternoon through Saturday evening for Sabbath. Is that how you say it? Sabbath. We sometimes stay a bit later in the office on Friday afternoon to get bills out or check processes. We heard a loud commotion by the cemetery entrance, which was locked, and only staff could get in and out. The office managers went to see what was going on and made me come with her. We went down to the gate to find an older woman, probably around 70, dressed to the nines, begging us to let her in. She kept saying she needed to get back. This was in the suburbs of NG. That's New Jersey?
NG?
Mm-hmm. I think it's New Jersey. So
NJ?
That's what I meant.
It's like NG, I don't know what that is. Okay. NJ.
NJ. So you need a car to get around. But we didn't see a car or anything. She was just there in this beautiful dress. We couldn't open the gate without the cemetery manager, so we went to get him. We brought him back to the gate and no one was there. We looked at the video footage at the entrance and you could see us, the office managers and me, talking, but there was no one on the other side of the gate. The cemetery management thought we were trying to trick him. I swear to this day, we saw a woman in a fancy dress outside the gate. There were multiple cameras and not a single one picked up anyone on the other side of the gate. And you could see the whole gate. All you could see was us. I don't know if it was a ghost or what. The officer manager and I decided not to tell anyone else, but we will mention it to each other every now and then. So it will be crazy to see a video and where you think you're talking to somebody and you realize there's nothing there. Because they actually felt like they saw a person there.
You would get yourself checked out.
Probably. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind. Now this one is by Multipliciter. It said, this is a true story. It was Mother's Day, and I went with my 5-year-old son to visit my mother's grave. We brought flowers, prayed for her rest, and sought protection from any evil. Everything was calm, and we had a normal day. However, something strange happened afterwards. My son told me something that disturbed me deeply. There's a boy watching us, and he's following us. I asked him where the boy was because I couldn't see anyone behind us. My son pointed with his tiny hand, but he still couldn't see anything. In the following days, life went on as usual. I went to work during the day while my son attended school. After picking him up, we returned home together. But after 2 weeks, I started hearing my son playing and talking with someone. It struck me as odd because it was just the two of us living together. When I checked on him, I found him playing with his toy soldier. When I asked him who he was talking to, he replied, "It's the boy from the cemetery. He said he wants to be my friend." Goosebumps ran down my spine, and I was left speechless for a moment, watching him play and converse with someone I couldn't see. Days went by, and my son's behavior changed drastically. We hardly did anything together, and he spent hours locked up in his room, playing with his invisible friend. His appetite decreased, and his school performance suffered. His teacher even called me in for a meeting due to his lack of attention and falling grades. I decided to talk him to a psychologist, but little could be done. The psychologist attributed it to an imaginary friend and diagnosed him with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, suggesting regular visits to improve his condition. However, after 2 months, there was no improvement. Then one Sunday, my son suddenly returned to his old self. He called me Mommy all the time, wanted to play with me, and even said he was hungry and asked me to prepare something. I felt joy and relief in those moments, and then no asked about his friend, afraid he might return to his cold behavior. But the happiness didn't last long. The same afternoon, around 6 o'clock, he froze while opening the front door, staring at nothing. When I approached to ask what was wrong, his answer was chilling and still continued to haunt me in my nightmares. Oh, God. My friend went to find his other friends from the cemetery. They are waiting outside, wanting to take me to play in the graveyard. Oh, it gave me the goosebumps, even in my face. My mind conjured up images of the garden filled with children who had passed away long ago, coming to take my son away for some inexplicable reason. I closed the door, locked it, and carried my son in my arms, retreating to my bedroom where we stayed, not daring to venture outside. There were moments where I peeked out of the window facing the garden, praying feverishly, begging that they wouldn't take my son. Meanwhile, the sound of knocking on the door intensified, as if someone was trying to force their way in. I turned on the TV, raising the volume to drown out the noises. My son innocently approached the window and said, "There's a lady with a stick hitting the children. Look." My heart sank as he described the exact appearance of my deceased mother on the day of her burial. That really gave me the goosebumps.
The mom was hitting them?
The mom came to take those children away so they would stop taking the grandchild. Oh, it really gave me the willy-jillies.
That's a good story.
That was excellent. And that's all the stories we have for you today. The last one was the best, in my opinion. What do you think?
I felt a little chill here and there.
I never felt goosebumps in my face, and I did today. That was crazy. Well, we hope you loved it and you come back and listen to us. If you have any stories that you would like to share, please send it to us at Ivonneplusone@gmail.com. Or if you like drawing or painting and you want to draw an interpretation of any of the stories that we did today, please do so and send it to us at Ivonneplusone@gmail.com. Anything else?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe share us to your friends, anybody that might be interested in these kind of stories.
Yeah.
We'll appreciate it.
Looking forward to hear from you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Bye.
See you next time.